Hello friends, today we resaw a piece of wood without using a bandsaw. Stay tuned! I'm Christopher, the Midwest Man Mountain, and I believe that woodworking and gardening are two of the best ways to be sustainable, creative, and achieve a sense of purpose. Thank you for watching. I have here a piece of maple that's about 3/4 of an inch thick and 5 inches wide. What am I going to do if I don't have a bandsaw and the maximum cut depth of my table saw is 3 inches? Well, let's go find out. To begin with, let's cross-cut this board to a more manageable length. In my case, I'm going to do 18 inches. Let's take a closer look at this board from its maximum height and the maximum plunge depth of the blade. We can see that the board comes in at 5 1/4 inches. And let's see how high this blade goes. The maximum plunge depth of the blade is just about 3 inches. Now 3 times 2 is 6, so theoretically I could cut this board in half doing 2 swipes. However, 3 inches of material is a lot of wood to hog out at the end of a board. So what we're going to do instead is make incremental cuts. As the wood passes through the blade, it tends to squeeze in itself. So when you're resawing on a table saw, it's important to have some sort of splitter at the end. In my case, I'm going to reattach the riving knife so that as the wood goes through, the new opening is caught between here and it can't pinch itself, causing extra tension and the possibility for kickback on the actual saw blade. I'm operating today with a full curved blade, so that means the thickness is 1/8 of an inch. The wood is 3/4 of an inch. 3/4 minus 1/8 is 5/8. That gives me 5/8 of material to cut in half. 5/8 divided by 2 is 5/16, and that's what I'm going to set my table saw fence to. Using a push stick on the top and my hand to keep consistent inward pressure on the bottom of the board, I'm going to advance the board over the blade and increase the height at steady intervals, about 1/2 inch at a time. As it goes across, I'm going to flip the board, keeping one side up against the fence consistently for each cut. Having made our final passes through the table saw, you can see that we have a much more manageable portion here to cut. This is just over 1 inch worth of material. So there are a couple things that you can do. 3 come to mind. If you're very adventurous, you can cut the rest of this off with your table saw. I tend not to do that with a board this thick because it's too variable. You can already see how the ends are pinching in. I really don't want one of these sides to fall down and my hand to hit the blade, or me to get kickback from the board, or there to be some sort of binding. That's just too concerning for me. So what I'm going to do next is put this here in the vise, and I could either cut this entire thing with a hand saw, or in my case I'm going to use a reciprocating saw. This is going to make very quick work of it. I'm going to make the first cut with a hand saw just so that there's something for this blade to get a hold of, and then finish the rest of it mechanically. And just like that, voila, you're done. The thickness of the blade on my reciprocating saw was very thin. It was just over 1/16 of an inch. So you can see that right here in particular, there's almost a lip that goes up that was 1 inch thick. That's fine. From here you can take this, you can run it through a thickness planer, you can take a hand plane to it, you can sand it if you're very adventurous. There are a lot of ways to finish it up. And on this side, you can see I made just a little bit of a mistake by rushing, and the saw from my reciprocating saw cut in just a little bit, a fraction, maybe a 64th. That's okay, some sanding will take that out. This is a great technique for book matching wood if you want to make something look very nice, in a box in particular. But really, it's a great way to get more material from one piece. If you don't need to use 3/4 of an inch and you don't want to use a thickness planer to get rid of, 1/2 an inch and just give you a bunch of sawdust. So what other techniques do you use to resaw wood not using a bandsaw? Be sure to let us know in the comment section below. While you're here, be sure and subscribe. If you like this, there's hundreds of videos you might like as well, and there's a Patreon page if you'd like to contribute directly to what you see. Until next time, bye!